So if you guys haven't been on YouTube as often as I have in the past 2 months, these stupid, pointless polls are kind of getting out of hand and catching way too much traction. 10,000 likes, 15,000 likes, 50,000 likes from channels with less than 3,000 subscribers. For example, this question right here. Which ability would you want? Fly, immortality, speed, power, or time travel? Now, how this question relates to this dude's actual content is a better kept secret than the fucking Manhattan Project. Like, who the hell cares what ability the average populace would want when you're reposting anime clips? How does that even relate? And why the hell did you put time travel can only exist twice at the same time? Like that automatically fixes all the massive, unresolvable paradoxes that still come with the whole idea. Or is it resolvable? Jokes aside, I'm sure that this dude is cool. In fact, I'm sure all people who do polls are super cool. Obviously. So you. Yeah, you. Don't go around trying to bully anyone. You big fat meanie. This situation is a part of a larger trend of trying to go viral using polls on YouTube since it's noticeably easier to do so. Even my polls on YouTube tend to do better than some of my videos, and sometimes it seems like it doesn't even matter what I'm asking, just that I'm asking. So, what are your guys' favorite makeup brands to use while gaming? But one question I think most of us must have heard by now, either through this poll system or maybe because you heard it somewhere else, is a pretty timeless gamer brain teaser, for lack of a better term. That being, what is the most important aspect in a single player video game? Is it the story, the gameplay, the polish, the music, or the graphics? Now, take a moment to think, then answer and lock that answer in. Pause if you need to, because after you lock it in, I will tell you what is objectively the correct answer. Did you answer? Did you seriously pick a single aspect that you thought was most important? Well, congratulations, you are wrong. If you couldn't already tell, I think that this brain teaser is completely and utterly ridiculous. I don't think there is a right answer and there can never be one. And I know what you're thinking, but innocence, it's not meant to have a proper answer. It serves as a spark for conversation and to see different perspectives. And I guess, but when a lot of those perspectives include hearing why some people seriously believe that graphics are worth absolutely nothing and would, quote, rather play a Red Dead Redemption 2 that looked like Halo Infinite if it meant the story got 10% better, I have to genuinely ask if you're missing several of your chromosomes. This question in and of itself is nothing but garbage. It's not really a question that progresses different viewpoints and opinions in any way, and at its core, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, imagine walking up to an engineer and asking, "Hey sir, yeah, which part of a car would you need more to run? The engine or the wheels?" Excuse me. Or walking up to a doctor and asking, "So like, bro, like, which organ would you say you like need more to live? Like your brain or like your heart or whatever?" Do you kind of get what I'm trying to lean into here? See, almost every aspect listed off in that brain teaser is of equal importance, meaning they each need to meet a certain baseline for the end product to even be considered a video game. A single player game with zero story is not a single player game. It's a simulator. A single player game with no gameplay is not a single player game. It's a visual novel. And a single player game with no polish doesn't freaking work. Every video game needs to meet those baselines, and once they do that, then and only then can we have a conversation about which of these specific aspects does a better job at standing out for any specific game on a title by title or even genre by genre basis. But there's never going to be a blanket answer to this question. To say that one option is universally more important than the other and genuinely mean it, like I'm talking you'd be willing to die on this 2-centimeter anthill, just means you have about as much creativity as a blind man trying to recreate the Starry Night. But honestly, I don't mean to blame anyone or make it sound like I'm actually complaining, because I'm not. I'm just tired of Reddit rage typing and just thought making a video would be an infinitely better medium to express my frustrations with whomever disagrees with me. As a civilized member of society, of course. So if you do think one option is objectively more important than the other, don't worry, I'm done roasting you. No need to hit that dislike button. I will now explain why I feel the way that I feel. But in case you still do want to leave, just make sure to pick up your shit opinion off the ground before you go. The way the original question is structured and how we as humans have a tendency to think in extremes when presented with situations like this kind of makes it feel like the question is instead asking, if we had to get rid of the other four, which would we pick to keep? And as I've explained, that kind of question just doesn't make sense in the context of building a coherent game. But in a sense, a game could have bad graphics and no music and still be great. Sure, it always needs a story, gameplay, and polish, but aren't good graphics and good music objectively less important since you don't need to meet any baseline to ship a game? Alright, fine, you caught me. I spent all this time preaching about why everything is equally important, yet here I am, admitting that you don't technically need good graphics or any music to ship a functional and potentially good game. Just like you don't need a car with climate controls or wheel suspension to get from point A to point B. But would you really want to be in that hot, stiff, and bumpy car cabin for longer than 2 minutes? You know, I can only speak for myself, but probably not. And I mean, you could technically live without both of your kidneys, but would you really want to do that and have to do a freaking kidney dialysis, whatever the hell that is, at the hospital 2 to 3 times a week for the rest of your life? Point is, just because you could live without them doesn't make them objectively non-important organs. Again, I can only speak from my limited experience as an ignorant YouTuber on this large planet, but I think most people would prefer to have their kidneys than not, even though it did get a little tempting to sell them during those ridiculous COVID prices. What the hell is that? Bad! Bad, Newegg, bad! Your kidneys and the car suspension are exactly the same as graphics and music in video games. Some games leverage those two aspects so heavily, like a luxury car for example, that it could be argued that their graphics and music have sufficiently become a part of the story they're trying to tell. So much so that it would not be the same game if they were reduced or changed. Think games like The Last of Us Part 2, Nier Automata, or Persona 5. I for one cannot imagine what any of these 3 games would be like without their soundtracks, and I especially cannot imagine how many people would have even bought Red Dead Redemption 2 if it launched looking like Halo Infinite. The Last of Us leans into a very gritty and realistic art style that elevates the story Naughty Dog was trying to tell. I somehow get the feeling that nobody would take Ellie slitting someone's throat as seriously as they did if we couldn't literally see the blood running down her hands. And nobody would be able to understand or grasp the eccentric and flamboyant nature of Persona 5 if it didn't literally look like a comic book the whole time. The point I'm trying to make is, even though good music and good graphics technically aren't needed to ship a good game, they can heavily tie into a game's aesthetic and identity and therefore elevate the entire experience. If The Last of Us Part 2 shipped with the same graphics as the original San Andreas, I promise you, even the entirety of The Last of Us #perfectly imperfect #masterpiece gang would have to think twice before their next reach to Andromeda. Heck, in a hypothetical world where we're trying to make a game with a great story, great gameplay, and great polish, but bad music and bad graphics, you'd need to first define what bad music and bad graphics even are. And if you think you know the answer, I urge you to put your opinion in the comment section of this video and see just how many people disagree with you. Good graphics and good music are two things gamers and humanity have been trying to define for centuries, yet people always seem to disagree with each other. If we define functional graphics as graphics with no graphical bugs, which would technically fall into polish either way, can we really say that one art style looks better than the other? Does Minecraft look better than Terraria? Does Hollow Knight look better than Celeste? You can't really say that. These games have different art styles, different graphical styles even, but that's all they are, different. And the same goes for music. If you try to say the phrase hip hop is better than country in the southern US, or country is better than hip hop in the wrong area of New York, you'd probably find yourself being roasted harder than a fucking peanut at a street carnival that nobody wanted to eat because it's too dark. But does that mean one genre is truly better than the other? No, it doesn't. They're just different. So, if we as gamers can't even agree on what good music or good graphics are, how can we even begin to take it away? What looks bad or sounds bad to you will look good or sound good to somebody else. Evidenced by the fact that while I cannot understand it, like this shit is a genuine enigma to me, a lot of gamers didn't mind how the first trailer of Halo Infinite looked. After recently watching a couple of videos by Noodle, an animation YouTuber who you should totally check out by the way, that guy is absolutely hilarious, where he talks about the Halo series' graphics, I could totally see how Halo's simplicity and textures might be an artistic choice by nature. So, when we go back to our hypothetical situation of building an otherwise great game with bad music and bad graphics, can anyone describe what bad graphics look like? There's pretty much a market for everything, so saying something looks bad is bound to piss at least one person off. And that's not to say that some games don't look bad, I cannot stress that enough. Halo Infinite does not look good for modern AAA standards, and PUBG on low settings is like having someone put a jackhammer to your eyes. But, and this is a big but, there will inevitably exist some people who don't have a problem with either of these, and that's because we all have different tastes. And for those of us with a wide palette, we might enjoy a variety of games that our friends don't because we're able to see the beauty in things that don't necessarily appeal to our direct taste. Needless to say, I enjoy Halo Infinite and I enjoy PUBG. And if you have a wide taste in games, you probably are able to see the positives in most games you play and aren't too focused on any one aspect of it, just that you had fun playing. And one thing is for certain, from the eyes and ears of the beholder, sufficiently good music and graphics might as well be a part of the story itself, and trying to demote or ruin them would be ruining the game. Good sound and a good graphical style can elevate what you play, and sometimes it elevates it so much that it becomes a reason you play. So can you really say they're objectively less important than the story, gameplay, or polish of a video game when it has the opportunity to literally become a part of each of those things? You know, I can only speak for myself, but probably not. And that, in conclusion, is why this entire question is just ridiculous. I will admit, it is pretty fun to think about, but some people just get too invested in their answers. Says the guy who just made a 14-minute video on this. But some people just get too invested in their answers, like there was truly ever a single correct one. In my opinion, they're all important dudes and dudettes, but if you pointed a gun to my head and forced me to pick, I'd probably go with story or music, not entirely sure which. And screw it, for the shits and giggles, let me know what you guys would pick as well if your hand was forced. I'm serious, go down below in the comments and pick whichever of the 5 is your favorite. I'm genuinely curious to know what most people value the most. If you're anything like me, your brain will probably go in circles for a bit before you force it to stop. But with that being said, dudes and dudettes, I've been Innocence, you've been the audience, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.